Bulldog Hockey Locker Room. This is Sports Close-Up, along with Jim Berger, the co-host, and myself, Mike Fiorillo. We're here with three senior members of the outstanding Bulldog team this year. To my far right next to Jim, Barrett Hoffman, no stranger to Sports Close-Up. To the middle, Jeff Millin. Right, Jeff?
Millin,
yep. And to my right, Cody Passilla. Guys, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, congratulations on an outstanding season.
Thank you.
Had to be a thrill as seniors to put the Bulldog hockey team back where it belongs on top.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, let's start with you since you're in the middle.
Okay.
When the season started, I know this was the goal, but explain how the season started, and was there any bumps in the road, and were you concerned along the way?
I mean, with every season there's bumps in the road, but I wasn't really worried throughout the whole season because we had a good group of guys, and we all, had faith in each other and trusted each other, and I think that's what made us get to where we were. So,
Jeff, how long have you played hockey?
13 years.
You started when you were
6
years old. How did you get started in hockey?
I was actually watching the movie Frosty, the Snowman, and
I know that movie. I like it myself.
Yeah. His son was playing hockey, and I thought it looked fun, so I started playing hockey.
And as you got older, you started playing here at the rec, the little division, Pee Wee division, and so forth?
Yep. I started when I was 6, and I've just played here all through my years.
As you were getting older, and I look on, which I think is really cool, the kids that graduate, their nameplates go up higher. Did you probably saw some of those people play as you were growing up? Did you go to some of the Bulldog games?
Yeah. I watched, looking for names here.
I know, they're scattered throughout.
Yeah. I watched Morgan Nickerson, all them. They were very impressive to me, and I've always looked up to them, so I've always wanted to be a Bulldog.
So you always wanted to wear the Bulldog jersey. What position did you play?
I played forward throughout my whole years, but I played center for 3 out of the 4 years as a Bulldog.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the center position. I have a little knowledge of hockey because a long, long time ago back on Long Island, I played hockey and I was a goalie, believe it or not, and that's back in the early 70s. But the center position, tell the people how skillful you have to be and what's your main role as a center person.
The main role as a center position is basically you got to play at both sides of the ice, and you got to stay disciplined, and that's probably the toughest part of being a forward. And being at the center position is always staying back and back checking and staying disciplined at your side of the end of the ice and the other side too.
Were you one of the members of the power play?
Yes.
What was your role there?
I was the guy in front of the net screening most of the year. And
explain that to people that really don't watch hockey. And I know this time of the year a lot more people watch it because of the playoffs. Tell people what that means to screen, because sometimes you can get hurt screening. So explain that.
Screening the goalie is basically when you stand in front of the goalie and take away his eyes so he can't see the puck. And a lot of the times you get shots hitting you and defenders hitting you with their sticks, and it's a battle in front of the net for sure.
Yeah, the puck finds you.
Yep.
But sometimes you get a chance to tip it in too, right?
Yeah.
Get off your skate. Cody.
Yeah.
Passilla name is not unfamiliar with Bulldog hockey, is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. So as you were coming up, did people remind you that the Passilla name, the Passillas that played before you were good hockey players? Did you feel any pressure having that name?
I mean, yeah, but honestly, in my side of the family, there's not a whole lot of hockey players, so that wasn't really the main reason I played hockey.
Right.
When I started out, I just came. My mom took me to a game one day, and just to see how I liked it.
Meadville game?
Yeah, to a Meadville game. Yeah, she brought me down, and then that's when I fell in love with the game. So, I mean, I always had pressure about that, but
what makes you like the game of hockey so much?
I don't know. It's a great game. You're always going. I don't know how to describe it.
Got to be in shape, number one, to play this game, don't you?
Yeah.
You got to really be in shape. What position did you play?
I also played center for 2 out of the 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
the last 2 years.
And scoring, how'd you do this year?
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
Right up there.
So, do you look to score? I mean,
Honestly,
you look to pass? What
I
do you
mean,
look to do?
I'm more of a passer. I always played with France, so he was kind of the goal scorer, and I was playmaker for.
So you set them up, and you got a lot of assists that way.
Yeah.
How important is the back check?
It's very important.
Explain.
It's the main part of the game. If you don't back check, your defense are gonna break down eventually, and you definitely have to be in shape and back check for sure.
Jeff and Cody, is it fair to say, I know a little bit about your coach, and known your coach for a few years, your assistant coach also. Is it fair to say if you guys don't back check, you might not see the ice as much as you want to?
Definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a fact.
Yeah, yeah. He's not afraid to take away your minutes if you don't listen to him. So,
Which is, I think, one of the greatest way to discipline Jim as a coach is take away people's
away the
time
playing
on the
time.
ice or on the field, whatever sport it is, on the court.
Talking about back checking and the role in the power play, I think another very important role, and we're seeing that now in the playoffs in the NHL, is the face-offs. As the centerman, are those some of your primary responsibilities? And I mean, how do you work on those? Is it harder? I mean, have you gotten better at it?
oh yeah, I mean, face-offs are probably one of the most important things on the ice. I mean, that's how you start a game, and that's how you start to get your possession of the puck. And we usually took about
50 face-offs.
Yeah, 50 face-offs at the end of practice just to work on them. And
You guys go against each other?
yeah, we get our four centers together and we always work against each
Do you ever
other.
get a little heated?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, it's part of it.
Right.
That's what you want.
yeah.
Barrett, you play defense, and your size, does it intimidate some of your opposition, do you think? I know you're pretty physical
yeah,
against the board.
yeah,
Do you like
really.
that part of the game?
Yeah, I mean, when we went to the All-Star game, everybody knew me as the mayor, and a lot of people didn't like me, but because I was pretty physical on the ice. But I mean, that's part of my game. That's how I play. So
And you also sometimes get up there and get a goal.
yeah,
You like that also.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
does a defenseman know when to? Because you have to worry about playing defense first. That's what we call the defenseman.
right.
When do you know it's okay for you to get up in the offensive set?
Mainly, you just have to read the play. Honestly, I mean, you see the defenseman looking, and as soon as you see him looking at your forward that you're covering, you can just pinch. And honestly, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you really have to trust your partner. I mean, Cole Passilla and Cooper Lagarde and Ben Murray and all them, Drew Jacobs. I mean, they really helped me out mainly this season too. So.
And that's very important as well. You talk about the chemistry of defensemen. Again,
Right.
you see that in the NHL all the time. Certain pairs are great together, certain pairs aren't. How big has that been for you? Growing
I
up?
mean, it's been huge. I mean, I was partnered with Cole Passilla mainly this season, and here and there with Ben Murray. But I mean, you just have to get used to the partner, and you have to know how they play exactly, and that's huge about the game, and especially the defenseman point of view.
You guys are seniors, as we stated before. When you walk into this locker room as a freshman, there's a lot of history in this locker room. There's pictures and plaques and trophies all over the place here. There's a rich history of Meadville hockey. In fact, it can be said that Meadville hockey built Pittsburgh hockey.
Right.
Is it added pressure to continue the tradition of this program? Because I'm sure you have former players that come in and visit once in a while. I know one is now announcing a little bit. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I feel a lot. I mean, our
And
trophy.
and you have that in your family. so-
Yeah, right. I mean, this trophy right here is the Black Dog Cup, and that's a trophy between Meadville, and Bethel Park. And I mean, we get a lot of people coming to that game, and we actually had it in Meadville this year, and we won. I mean, so it just feels great winning in front of our crowd, especially too.
We were proud of that because, I mean, if you look on the trophy, it says each year who won and who
And the
didn't
score.
win.
Yeah.
It shows the score, and if you look on it, the past few years, Meadville has not been on there at
Yeah.
all, and we were glad to finally bring it back to Meadville.
So, Jeff, when you seniors got together this year, then you guys had some goals. That was one of the goals that you guys wanted to make sure you accomplished?
Yeah, from starting from our freshman year, we've played all with each other for basically all the time we've played.
How important is that?
That's probably the most important to me. I think the chemistry on the team is what really builds, the team and a winning season. And we got together and we made a list of what we wanted to do, and at the top of our list was the 1,000th win mark.
Mhm.
And
For Coach Plunkett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it went the championship, and then it went nationals, and then
Probably wasn't in that order for Coach, though, was it? Knowing
No.
Coach, he probably put his
He
down
probably
at the
put-
bottom.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But we knew how much that meant to him, even when he didn't know. You know. But
So let's stop right there for a second. And all you guys chirp in here. And Coach Holabaugh is off camera right now, knows this too. I mean, that gentleman and Coach Plunkett have been here for a while with this hockey program. Why does it mean so much for you guys to get that win for him? Why? What kind of connection does he have as a coach to his players?
He's just been. I mean, he's been here for
Forever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and just like seeing all the great names that he's coached for, and just like achieving that goal was just like I remember being on the 900 win team, and I remember talking about the 1,000. I never thought I was going to get it because I was in 8th grade, but fortunately I got it my senior year, and it was just it felt great. I mean, as soon as we reached that, I felt really good.
What goes on during the game when he's coaching? I mean, is he a little verbal? Like if you do something he doesn't like, does he let you know? Does he tap you on the shoulder? Does he get in your ear and say, "Hey Jeff, cut that out. You're that's a bad penalty," or whatever?
yeah, he definitely gets in your head and makes sure you're locked in and ready for the game. And if he sees something he doesn't like, he's not afraid to tell you.
He knows each of us well though, so he knows
Right.
who to tell, and he knows who to leave alone. So that's a
Okay,
great
that's
part
good.
about
That's
him.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's right, because everybody's different.
Yep,
Correct.
definitely.
How about when you get in there between a period, all right, and the team here, say you guys are down a couple of goals. What goes on? What went on this year in the locker room? Does the seniors start talking? Does anybody talk, or are you guys just quiet and you know what you have to do?
It's been different this year.
Okay.
In the past years, he would come in here, give us a big talk, but this year he would kind of leave it up to the seniors, and he wanted us to get the team under control, and it's worked. I know we've been down by 2 or 3 goals, and we've came into the third period and dominated. So
Yeah, I think he likes to read the room, and the atmosphere of the room. When he walks in, if he sees all of our heads down, he'll come in and talk to us and lift our spirits up a little bit. But
I remember going into Bulldog hockey, I was always like hanging out with the older kids and stuff that played for him, and they would always talk about how he'd come in here and
make a scene,
a scene and stuff, and it's just been different because he would sometimes you'd be surprised he'd come in here when we were down by 3 or 4 goals, and you'd just be waiting for him to come in and make a scene, and he'd just be like, all right, let's get our heads up and get back in the game. We're not done with this game yet.
That's interesting what you just said, because I think coaches that are really good in their sport read their team, but also, let me just see if this is true. Is it a little tougher when you're winning a lot to make sure you guys don't get the head start getting up here?
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, I remember some games we would go in the third period up by a couple goals and we would blow it in the third. And I mean, I think that's mainly being focused, and that's what sometimes it was always there for. And he would always make sure we were focused going into the third period, and even if we weren't, we were goofing around in the locker room. It was just our fault, but.
Now, coming up through the program, I know you said you talked to a lot of the older kids. Coming into a program with Coach Plunkett, a legend in not only Meadville but Pennsylvania, United States hockey. Were you guys kind of intimidated? What did you, do you know what to expect coming into your high school years? Was it kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to mess up? Or, what was it like kind of adjusting to him? Was it kind of were you in awe, or did you just kind of take it as it went?
Did you get some pointers ahead of time, Barrett?
Yeah, from Kyle. Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody who?
Kyle Waite, he's my uncle. He played for Coach Plunkett when he went to high school. So
you heard all the stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, I heard all the stories.
I mean, it was
back
also
then.
a very good player for Meadville, too.
Correct.
But yeah, what was it like, coming
Yeah.
into the program and playing for it?
And what's it like playing when he's watching you play too, Kyle? Does he give you some pointers or say, "Hey, what are you doing"?
Yeah, I mean, coming in for playing for Jamie, I was pretty nervous at first, but as you just start to get to know him and start to get used to him, you just start to just play your game, and you don't get nervous anymore. And I mean, it was pretty. I was pretty nervous when Kyle was on the bench at the first time, but I just got used to him, and he was helping me. He actually worked with the defenseman, so it was nice seeing him down there all the time. And But he would always give me pointers, and so would Jamie, and you just kind of got used to it after a little bit. But I was a little frightened at first.
Yeah, I mean, 8th grade, we were all practicing players. He actually got some time on the ice. But you kind of got used to Chief on the ice when we were practicing with him. I mean, we saw his scenes, and
he was always easier on us, as we should say. But we would always see what it would be like for the older guys. He's always tougher on the older guys. But
I guess you could say we learned from
his expectations, right? They should know by now, right?
He always wanted them set an example.
And by the way, for people that don't know, he was born and raised in Canada. He grew up knowing the game and played the game himself. And so go ahead, guys. So.
Yeah, I guess you could say that we learned from the older guys, from their mistakes. And I actually got the best advice from a former player, Brian Ray, that he could ever probably give me was,
I remember him playing also a very good player.
Don't be afraid of playing your game. And
that is great advice.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to make a mistake either.
Yeah, that's basically what he meant.
Yep.
Because, you're going to make mistakes, and everybody makes them, and the repercussions are different sometimes, but you just can't be afraid.
You got to stay aggressive.
Yep.
If you guys want to chirp in on this one, too, first year you played varsity, first game. Do you remember your first game as a varsity player?
I do.
What grade were you in?
I was in 9th. Well, I guess correct myself. We were in 8th grade, me and Jeff.
You were in 8th grade playing on the varsity.
Yeah, we got called up for one of the scrimmage games, but
So putting on that varsity shirt and you're going out there and you got to have butterflies and nerves, right?
I mean, it felt great coming in here, and we always go up to see what line we're on and stuff. And then me, Jeff, and another senior this year, Luke Triola, on a line together. And actually, in that game, we scored a goal.
Wow,
that was pretty cool.
So when you're in 8th grade and you get called up for a game like that, and you guys do well in that game, how much confidence does it give you that you guys say, "Hey, we belong here"?
Definitely, it felt good going into the next years, and it definitely helped out with confidence-wise.
Now, did you guys play as 9th graders on the varsity right away?
Yeah.
We were always kind of a younger team. I mean, this year we're considered an older team by most, but.
So do you think that's why, going back to what you said about Coach Plunk, could be a little calmer this year and letting you guys control the locker room? He had the faith and confidence that he saw what you guys have done over the years and knew that you could direct the ship?
Yeah, I think it was all about trust this year. I think the players had trust in our coaches, and our coaches had trust in us. And I think that was a lot of the thing about him coming in during the intermission and talking to us.
It's clear you guys have a very close bond. I'm sure most of your seniors have been playing together for a long time. I've been to a lot of games this year, and one of the really cool things I've noticed is seeing the different high schools being represented. So you have Conneaut rooting for Meadville, Sagertown rooting for Meadville. I think it's really cool just seeing that, because I don't know what other sport you'll see that in. You guys have some guys from different high schools on your team. How was that? I mean, I'm sure you guys have gotten to know them throughout your playing career. Hasn't been much of an adjustment playing with those guys, welcoming into Meadville, I guess.
Right. I mean, just from actually Conneaut, so I mean, it would be tense in football season when I have to come and see them sometimes.
No doubt about that.
But no, you get used to it. I mean, you grew up with these kids for the entire, since you were little, when you were playing hockey with them. So you kind of got used to them, and even when you'd still hang out with them outside of school no matter what. So, I mean, as you just got used to it pretty much. So
I remember sitting at the first Burl game this year, actually, and looking around. There's Conneaut kids chanting for Meadville, not against Meadville. This is pretty cool.
What's it? Do you guys, when you watch a NHL game, do you watch it differently? You think that a regular fan does? What do you watch when you watch it? All three of you, when you watch an NHL game, what do you watch?
I watch what the players are doing at all times, not just when they're in the offensive zone. Watch where they're skating, see where they go, and just it helps learn a lot. I mean, when you watch players such as Sidney Crosby, I mean, everything he does, he knows what he's doing, and he's doing it for a reason. So,
who is the best player in the NHL right now, I think. But I think the young kid to play from Erie that's at Edmonton is going to be the best player down the road. Have you guys been to a Penguin game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to see, and have you been to Otters games too?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your futures. And we did a little bit off camera. Let's start with you first, Cody. Where are you going to school and what are you going to be doing?
I'm going to Robert Morris University, and I'm going to be majoring in business, and I plan to play hockey, and that's...
Basically the same thing. I'm attending Robert Morris University and majoring in finance and hopefully playing hockey.
Two smart kids right there, Coach. And Barrett.
I'll be attending Edinburgh University, and I'll be playing on a football scholarship, and I will be studying criminal justice.
Nice. What has hockey taught you?
Everything. I mean, ever since I was young, I was playing the sport, and I don't ever think I'll stop watching the game of hockey. And I don't know, just what I've built my life around.
Jeff?
A lot of things. It taught me character, leadership, trust, teamwork. I mean, there's a lot of like under the radar things that you would never even expect about a game that would teach you. So,
Barrett?
Hockey has been in my life ever since I was so little, and it's been my first love. I mean, it's going to be hard to give it up. I mean, it really is when I go to Edinburgh, but I mean, it's time for
And
a
if
new
something
chapter,
else
yeah.
happens, you might not be giving it.
Yeah, right.
So, if you had to remember one thing in your career, what was the best moment in your career here in Meadville, Cody?
Oh, boy.
I know it's hard. Pick one. I'll be
Honestly,
going to you two next.
I would say winning the championship down
Oh.
in this year in Pittsburgh. I mean, it was just a great feeling. We grew up with the kids. Each and every one of us loved
You
each
guys
other.
played out at the Lemieux Center, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which is a fabulous place
Yeah.
to begin with.
It was an awesome experience, though. I mean, we all are like brothers on the team, and it felt great to go out on the top like that.
And in such dramatic fashion, too.
Yeah. That's right.
Heart-stopping game.
Yeah,
That's right. I must have been a little nervousness during the course of that game, wasn't it?
yeah, definitely.
I mean, the momentum shifts.
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm going to have to say the same thing. I mean, you could just tell our whole team wanted that game so bad. And, fortunately it happened to us. And that game-winning goal was probably the best moment of my life.
It should be.
What was it like in that dog pile after that goal? I couldn't even imagine.
Oh man, it was surreal. When I saw the puck go in, I was in shock, and
Now, let's go back on that because I wanted to ask you this for a long time. Were you looking when you shot that?
no, I just shot the puck. I mean, with that good
Put
of
it
a
on goal and
goaltender,
you know what's going to happen, correct?
yeah, and with that goal, that good of a goaltender, I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
any shot can go in overtime. No,
And he
So
shot a good
when
job.
you saw the light go on and the puck in the net,
and
you
I
feel like,
put my arms up, and then Luke Triola just tackled me, and then a bunch of bodies came over me, and it was awesome to celebrate with all them.
oh, sure.
I would definitely have to say the same thing. I mean, that championship game.
Were you on
was-
the ice when the goal went in?
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
just flew down to
yeah.
jump on the pile?
Yeah, but I was right behind Luke Triola, actually. So I'm pretty sure I was the one that brought Jeff down to the ice. So. But it was a great experience. I mean, just the actually being in the new facility down in Cranberry, it was just, I mean, it was a great experience.
Yeah,
I mean, the locker rooms were so nice. I mean, everything was nice. I mean,
The atmosphere was so good.
yeah, all those people there, all the Meadville fans. I mean, it was
That-
crazy.
That was actually the first thing we did in the huddle was look around at the people and
Yeah.
Yep. Take it all in and
Take it
remember
all in,
that. It's a
yeah.
lifetime thing you want to remember forever.
Yep.
It's been quite a year for Meadville sports. The hockey program did well, the football program did well, the basketball team went all the way to states. So it's been almost like the AD John Fry said, it's been a great year to be a Bulldog fan.
Right.
And all the sports, you guys get together and respect each other. I know I saw a lot of basketball players at the games here and football players at the hockey games.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely respect each other. We always go support he's supporting Cash. But
Right,
we
well, that's
just
fine.
let
He
him
should.
do what
He
he
should.
wants. But we'd always go to basketball games, football games, and
But
we all support each other.
like Jim said, there's some cash people come down and support you.
Yeah,
That's just for hockey, though.
No, but I mean, that's cool. They come out and
Yeah,
support
it's
this.
cool. It is cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of rivalries too. Like a lot of good games this year against some of your rivals. I was here for the prep game. I know they came in with big heads, and you guys kind of, I think you outplayed them in the tie.
They always come in with big heads.
Borough, you came in and showed them Meadville who. What's it like going against some of these teams that come in? I know, you guys have that history, have that aura, but I'm sure there's still some teams that come in here like prep. Some of the bigger schools, how's it feel to clean their clocks like you guys did this year? I mean, some of these wins were very decisive. Buffalo Park,
I mean, going into the year, I know that a lot of our seniors, it was our main goal to beat prep because what was our freshman year? Mm-hmm. We actually beat prep, and then ever since then, we never beat them. And I know we didn't beat them this year, but it felt great to just tie them, and
you outplayed them.
We definitely outplayed them. I think they knew that too.
Yeah, we definitely felt that if we had more time on the clock, we would have won that game.
Yeah, we had momentum the last 5 minutes of the game. I mean,
and then that Borough game in the playoffs coming back after what happened to them early in the season.
We were so mad at them. We just wanted to absolutely run that score up.
Yeah, and I think you definitely wanted to play them again too, because you didn't play your best game against them when you played them. And that was during the run of getting Coach Plunkett's 1,000.
I think if we would have won that game, we would have got it.
I mean, I had 6 penalties, man.
You guys were so hyped for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's another thing about Chief. That game, he came in the locker room before the game and told us it's not about him. It's about the players, and that shows a lot about him. That he was not worried about that game, and he didn't care when he got his. That was something to set aside.
I remember he said, it'll come at some point. Don't worry about when it comes, because it's just going to come at some point. Just go out and play.
Well, it's great about all the memories you guys created this year. You'll have those for your lifetime. You'll have them when you get together for a reunion, a hockey reunion or something down the road. When you're 40, 50, 60 years old, you pass these stories on to your own children or your grandchildren. But, your name plates will be up there forever, at least until this building is knocked down.
Yeah.
And, when you come in as an alumnus and look at these awards and trophies you guys won, you feel pretty good in your chest. Hey, I helped do that, and in your case, I scored the goal, which is no small feat right there, young man. It's something you can have the rest of your life. Did anybody take a picture of that?
Picture of the goal?
When you had your hands up after you scored?
I don't think, but there's videos.
Okay, that's right. There would be, yeah. So something you can have forever.
Yeah, but I can't take full credit for the whole season.
No,
I mean,
nor would you.
No, these names around the whole locker room is what I owe everything to.
Well, you know what, guys? You learned a lot of good lessons playing hockey here in Meadville, but you brought a lot of excitement and joy to the fans of Meadville, Sagertown, and Conneaut that supported this team. And, we're thrilled that you guys spent some time with us. We wish all three of you good luck in the future. I think all three of you will be very successful in life, and that's what's really important. And I think you'll do well. Remember, when you go to college, study first. Have a good time second. All right. And we'll be back with the coaches.
That's going to be Trioli, going to try to get the puck out. This is Millin, going to come, wheel and deal, get the stripe, far side, going to look, take a shot, deflect off the defender's skate. Boy, there's just no wiggle room at all in there.
No, there really isn't. The Cougars have definitely tightened it up defensively since the first period.
Oh, there it is! What gets it? He gets it! He got it! After 90! Millin! Millin! My goodness gracious! He gets the puck off the headboard! He snaps off a wrist shot! Upper 90! Bulldogs win! Bulldogs win! Unbelievable shot!
Absolutely great play by Millin, the captain. What a way to end it.
I'll tell you what, that, my friend, is why you're a captain.
Absolutely.
He pulls that off the board. He goes upper 90, short side. I got to tell you what, no goalie saving that.
No, absolutely. That thing was laced and labeled for upper 90 no matter who's in that. I don't care if it's Fleury or Murray.
here with Coach Dick Holabaugh. And Coach, you've been talking, how many years you've been doing this?
About 31 and a half, something like that.
And you've been with Coach Plunkett, obviously, the whole time. Explain the relationship you and Coach Plunkett have had such a long time.
Well, the relationship is pretty simple. He tells me to do something and I go do it. So that's the relationship. He's still the chief. He's the hockey guru, and he doesn't like me using that term. But in all honesty, he will ask advice, and when you give it to him, he does what he wishes to do anyways, which is the way it should be. He is the head coach, and everybody follows his lead. But in answer to your question, the fact is, we do what Jamie needs done when he needs to do it, and everybody chips in. As he often said, we need a whole lot of people rowing and one guy steering, and he's the guy with the rudder, so he's the guy that steers the boat.
Well, since you've been here from day one with Coach Plunkett, I've made this comment many times, and Jim being from Pittsburgh, and I want you to answer this comment or give some input on it. I really think Meadville hockey built the Pittsburgh hockey programs, the high school programs.
First of all, of course, I agree with that. Some of the statistics, Bethel Park built a rink. We played at Mount Lebanon, Meadville against Bethel Park, and at the Mount Lebanon rink. The school board was there. They had the mayor there. They had numerous officials from Bethel Park there. And unfortunately, we handed them a pretty good spanking that evening. And the next day, in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, there was a headline in the sports page that said the Meadville Mission. And the Meadville Mission was to provide a rink on the Bethel Park campus that would give them the opportunity to spend more ice time and get more ice time and be able to defeat Meadville. That's one of the times that Jim McVeigh got involved in the program and has been very, very successful, won several state championships in the AAA division and done very well. But you're absolutely correct. People couldn't understand. One of my favorite stories was against Team Pittsburgh. Here in this building, and we kept encouraging them to come up and play. Dougie Hanaway was on the team at that time, and Sean Fitzsimmons and Clayton Phyllis and Ronnie Ott and Guanson and Haglia and so on. But we were able to defeat them. Sean Fitzsimmons scored a goal with about 3 seconds or 2 seconds on the clock to beat Team Pittsburgh. And after leaving the rink, kind of a humorous story, my middle son and I ended up in Wendy's grabbing some lunch. And a Pittsburgh family were traveling in their leisure van, 2 families to be exact. And the young lady with them said, honey, did you see what movie was on the theater? She says, isn't that the best movie you've ever seen? And he answered by saying, yeah, it's a nice movie, I liked it. She said, no, really, isn't it the best movie you've ever seen? He said, honey, until about 20 minutes ago, I thought Team Pittsburgh was the best hockey team I'd ever seen. But he said, I've changed my mind on that subject, too. But that really helped tip the scale. That was back in, again, the Fred Phillis, Clayton Phillis era with many, many others, John McCarney and others that we've already mentioned. But that started to lean things because in our day with Jamie, we had difficulties playing in Erie. We couldn't get teams to come down here and play us. We had to go there and play them at the Igloo. And the same thing was true in Pittsburgh. We were able to get games in Ohio. The Ohio team has a different schedule and plan than we do here in Pennsylvania. So they played a lot of scrimmage games. We were able to get to Ohio to play. And we went from not getting games in Erie to literally dominating Erie, and then going from not getting games in Pittsburgh to dominating Pittsburgh. So you're absolutely right. We generated some effort, and we jokingly say Jamie may have taught them too much. So we're hoping that they didn't get all of our secrets or lessons, but they seem to have picked up a lot.
Now, talking about that, as you said, 31 years, you've been with Coach Plunkett for the duration, and you guys pretty much had success right away. what was the hockey community like, before Coach Plunkett took over, before you were, because obviously there had to be some talent, and then you guys just kind of took off with it.
Well, I agree. And again, that's really the reason that Jamie was coaxed and encouraged and begged to take the position, because there was some skill. And, of course, we wanted
Plus they built
good leadership.
this beautiful complex. They wanted
Well,
a good product
exactly.
out here.
Exactly. And the ice was here, and we had ice time, which was obviously a big help, proximity to the high school and the surrounding community. And that's obviously a plus. There's no question of that. But you're right. I mean, it was the fact that the Fred Phillips, who was the president of the organization, Fred would spend his life in the football career. He played football, coached football. He was a coach at Pitt in their D1 program. He played out of Ohio. He was a Bowling Green grad. But anyways, to get to the point, football was his background. And Fred, of course, tried to explain to everybody that hockey seemed to be a basketball game played with football equipment, and goaltending was absolutely mandatory. So that being said, because his children were playing, all three of them, Clayton being the oldest, Paul being the middle son, and Scott being the younger of the three, all were talented, all played well here. And Fred was willing to spend the time, energy, and financing to get things rolling, and it kind of snowballed from there.
Well, let's talk about the early years at Meadville hockey, because one of the things you guys did right away is you built a heck of a feeder system. And Meadville became a hockey community overnight.
Well, obviously, again, that's true. The fact is, we have an advantage or a disadvantage, a curse and blessing all at the same time. The closest team that plays hockey geographically from Meadville High School would be an Erie school. Kennedy Christian has one. It's an hour away. You can be in Erie in 45 minutes. Right. Point being, if you were a young man, and remember we have the Crawford County Youth Hockey Association, which, if you will, is our feeder system. That being said, if a young man comes in, I'm going to use Jeff Millin for an example, started out at 5 or 6 years old playing skating and playing hockey in Meadville in the youth system. When he got to 14, 15 years old,
if he didn't move to Meadville, he couldn't play.
We said, oh yeah, I'm sorry, you can't play.
Right.
Well, this is one of my arguments with the PIHL all the time.
Exactly.
There have to be some rules written and understand of the geographics, but how that applied to us was the selfish side of the coin. If you played youth hockey, you had to be here to play. You didn't have 3 or 4 or 5. You couldn't be at Bethel Park and play either at Bethel Park, Mount Lebanon, or Upper St. Clair and just step over the line. For a 45-mile radius, you were going to play hockey here. Simple as that.
So, as the early years start in Meadville, and you guys had so much success right off the bat, winning state championships, the Meadville community fell in love with the hockey program.
They did. To refresh your memory, our first state championship year, Meadville did have a very good basketball team that year, and lost in the state championship.
Yep.
And our championship title game was a few weeks afterwards, and there were a lot of Meadville people said, I don't care if it is hockey. I'm gonna see a Meadville team win a state championship, and again, that started to get people interested in the sport. And again, it just grew from that enthusiasm. But as you guys know better than anybody, and I think all of our viewers out there know it as well, Meadville has always been a tremendous sports area and support their teams. And I don't care what sport it is. You and I talked earlier about Kyle Waite's mom. I'm pretty sure if 2 kids were rolling marbles on the curb, she'd stop and watch them play the game. Families are like that. And if you are a sports enthusiast, whether you play the sport, watch the sport, or just listen to the sport, Meadville is one of those areas that will support you.
You know, I got to get this in because I would feel remiss if I didn't. You talk about listening to the sport. We lost a great person in Gary Clark who loved this program.
He did.
you have any stories about Gary?
Most of which I can't tell. I think you all know that. Gary and I have known one another. Actually, Gary's dad actually worked for me at my business out in Conneaut Lake for a few years. So Gary and I and his whole family have known one another for a very, very long time. Of course, Gary had a love for radio, and now Gary, I don't want him to haunt me or anything, but I told Bob Robbins when he took the job with Bob, or Bob offered him the job, I actually went to Bob and Cindy and said, "Are you feeling well? I mean, do you really know what you're getting yourself into?" And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, he's probably the least diplomatic gentleman I'm aware of, unlike Jamie's brother, the Canadian diplomat." I said, "Gary, that isn't Gary's title." But he did well for Bob, of course, professionally, and Bob was very happy to have Gary. But again, Gary loved the sport, and he dedicated his time and energy to learning it. Like most of the Meadville people, he learned the sport as he went along. Mm-hmm. I think one time he talked about a jump ball instead of a face-off on air, and he talked about quarters instead of periods. But as Gary finally said, I learned myself better. So he grew into the sport like everybody else in Meadville, and just couldn't put down the microphone.
Yeah, he did a great job bringing Bulldog hockey to many people. And one piece of advice he always gave me one time when I was just starting out in broadcasting, and I got nervous, and I think it was basketball, and I told Gary, I said, Gary, I don't know if I'm going to get the other kid's name right. And he goes, "Mike, let me tell you something. Nobody from that school is listening to you. All the Meadville fans listen to you. So if you mispronounce the other guy's name, because sometimes in hockey I'd make up the other guy's name anyway."
Well, there's that diplomacy thing again. That's scary for sure.
So, go ahead.
Please, no.
I was just going to say, so, the early years were very prosperous through the 2000s, and now this year, again, you had the great year, PIHL championship. How does that feel? 30 years, you've been successful. Like, was it just as fulfilling this year winning the PIHL as it was, 15 years ago? How's that transition?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, yes, of course it is. I'd like to tell people that it's all about the kids, and and of course it is. I'd like to tell them it's all about the sport. To be blunt, it's all about winning. We sit in this locker room, and I think some of the fellows, the seniors that were here before us today, maybe felt a little shy to say it. But the fact of the matter, in the locker room, they put a chip on their own shoulder, and the captains said to themselves and then to the underclassmen, we're not going to lose in this building against this team. And they backed that up with energy and effort. And but you had talked about the leadership.
Yeah.
And Jamie, whether he came in and screamed and yelled, which was old school. That's one of the ways he grew up in the hockey. Mm-hmm. But that, again, was old-time hockey. Mm-hmm. But Jamie is excellent at being able to read the room, as they suggested. But the real difference is the leadership of your upperclassmen. And we've had older teams, more seniors, but not the same amount of leadership. And there was a big difference. And these young men here today weren't going to either own up to that, but that's an absolute fact. Jamie knew that we had the right leadership and the right group of men in the locker room this year, so he could go to the office and be quiet, and it worked.
And you could tell just talking to them as well. You know, they're not going to trump their own horns like you said, but they have that quiet confidence. They're very well spoken, very matter of fact. We're here to win. We want to win.
Right.
We've grown up together. We're not going out, any other way.
Well, believe me, when Jeff and Barrett and others in the locker room spoke in their non-public voice, the younger players and even older players listened, and for obvious reasons. I mean, it was not lip service. It was, we're not going to have any of what we just went through.
Take us through, though, and of course we have to end this pretty soon because you have
Sure.
to get to practice too.
We do.
And Coach Plunk is having a practice now. Tell us about what's going on now. How do you guys prepare for your next season? Because that was, you guys don't even have a chance to think about how great it was to win this cup. Now you're preparing for new names across this locker room.
Absolutely
Some new
right.
names.
In fact, that's what Jamie's doing. That's why I'm filling in for him tonight. We have team camp today, and I'll be leaving for Newcastle here as soon as we get out of the building.
And what is that?
We have invitations, and anybody that wishes to play for the Meadville High School team participates in a team camp. As you know, out here we don't have any ice of our own,
Right.
so we have to go elsewhere. Some years it's been in Cleveland. I'm sorry. Some years it's been in Erie. Some
Right.
years it's in Pittsburgh. This year it happens to be in Newcastle. And you get a look at all the young guys. Occasionally we have a grade 8 player or 2 or 3 that wants to come out just to be seen, which is obviously a good thing for them. But we start evaluating players, and that's what we're doing today. We were on the ice a couple hours last night, and we'll be doing so this week. But what you're doing, you're looking over the new seats, and you're evaluating them. Jamie told them last night, hey, you're not gonna have your best practice tonight, the first time you've been on the ice in weeks. But keep skating, keep working. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And Jamie, of course, has the experience and the knowledge. We'll sit down and create a list, and then when we get some ice here and we start doing some scrimmaging and things like that, then we refine that list. But it gives everybody in the community an opportunity to show up and come out for a practice, and we get to watch them. And obviously, the Otters are doing some things similar to that right now. They get their draft picks in and look at them, and then they have some under 18 guys that come in a couple of weeks ago and have a look at them. So they get a pulse on who they may have for the upcoming season, and that's what we're doing this week.
And some of your seniors go down and help out, I suppose.
We're actually using them. We'd like to do that because many of them, as you heard, many of them are going to continue or hopefully continue their hockey career. And they want to keep their legs and keep on the ice and this kind of stuff. But obviously there's others that, because of knowing our drills, knowing our systems, are willing to jump in and be on ice coaches then. And they get a taste of the other side of the bench, which for them is a very good thing too.
So how long do you want to stay with as coach?
Well, I've made the commitment with Plunkett. I said I'm going to stay one day after you do, so just to clean out the locker room. So I think as long as Jamie's health and happiness and all of the above things, he loves the sport. He loves the young people. He obviously likes the community. He'd probably be angry at me. His initial plans when he moved here was to be here for a very short period, a cup of coffee, as he put it, and move on to something bigger and greater. But he said, geez, I have 2 daughters now, and what a wonderful community to raise a family. And they actually are starting to know a little bit about hockey, so why not stay? So I think Jamie will be around for a while, as long as he... Sue wants to know, Jamie's wife Sue said, the last thing I want you to do is be around home all day. So please go find something to do.
And when you sometimes when you look at all these names that surround us, the names that have left, you probably get some of these people come back, and it's probably a good moment for you.
It's a wonderful moment for everybody involved. We have an alumni game every year,
right.
And
you have a golf outing.
Yeah, we have the golf outing, and those that don't golf and still are playing the sport or want to come in, it's just wonderful.
Right.
The only negative side is that the fans of players today that are there watching the game, I have to put my thinking cap on and try to remember everybody's name and number that is out there on the ice that they put on 50 pounds or more and lost their hair. And geez, that is sure. But the good news is, fortunately, I do remember 99% of them.
And I'm sure the stories fly.
They do that. It's a little like fishing. Sometimes the goal was fancier and the play was better.
The older I get, the better I was.
Absolutely, no question about that.
And Coach, we want to thank you for a few minutes. And I know Coach Plunkett, but you're kind of the unsung hero. And I know you've been here a long time. And I want to be honest with you because, Gary talked highly of you.
Ooh.
He really did.
That's scary, isn't it?
And he said you guys had a lot of fun and a lot of arguments. And he said we had some crazy times on the road. He said, but we were a family. We
are that, and that's one of my lectures that Jamie would be happy to say I do best is lecture. But the fact is, the scariest time in Jamie's life, he said, when someone hands me a microphone, but that's another story being told. But Gary was absolutely right about the family effort. The good part about a tight community such as we have here in Meadville and Crawford County in general is that once you spend 4 or 5, you mentioned the Passilla family, it's amazing how family-like you become. The fact that we are on the road a lot, traveling, the fact that we're spending 7, 8, 9, 10 months a year
You go to
in the
Canada,
sport.
you go to Michigan, you go a lot of places.
Exactly, and because of that, the families, that becomes their vacation, and many times they can't afford to do 2 or 3 things the same year, and so if we're traveling to a tournament out of town, mom and dad and brothers and sisters all show up, and a year after you realize once the seniors are gone and you're sitting around home that how much of a family the program actually had become. And you find yourself migrating back to the rink or watching other games and coming in and saying hello and that kind of stuff. So Jamie does have a tremendous drawing for his old players. They come in every time, if they're in college, they're in saying hello. And if they're out of town living and they're back for family reunions or whatever, they're in and make sure they see them. So Jamie opens his door to anybody, and you're 100% right. The hockey family is very, very, very tight because you spend so much time together and you get very close. But it's a wonderful experience. That's the bottom line. You just can't say that enough. It just becomes something that brings the whole community together in one room. And that's tough to do at a church or any other location. It's really tough to do.
Well, as a former educator, Coach, I want to thank you for the influence and the positive influence you had on all these people as they were growing up. I know a lot of them, how successful they are today in different things, and a lot of it is because of the influence you and Jamie have had on them when they were younger and helped shape them into the kind of people they are today. So thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
Coach.
We do appreciate that doctor thing in the front of their names. That doesn't embarrass us at all. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
very
it.
welcome. Well, you've been watching the Meadville Bulldog hockey program, the 2017 champions, on Sports Close-Up.